Welcome back to another episode of A Cup of Joe. Today's guest is also one of my favorite friends. This is Spencer Brothers with Sterling Home Inspections. He is the guy that comes and shows up to all of the madness of buying a house. He's the one that says whether you should buy the house or not. Huge help of our team and the HBH chef. Spencer, welcome.
Thank you. I appreciate it.
We're glad you're here.
Me too.
Yeah. Do you have anything crazy happen today?
Oh, not yet. It's still early.
It's still early in the day.
You never know. It may happen still.
It's still coming. I love it. Well, tell our audience a little bit about your background and then how the heck did Spencer get to Sterling Home Inspections? Yeah. How did that happen? Tell us through it.
How does anybody get into home inspections?
I know. I've always
Such
wondered, so I'd love to know.
Trajectory. So mine's are probably different from everybody's, but I started in the Navy on active duty for some time, and I did inspections on aircraft. So a little bit different.
Wow.
But the attention to detail is probably higher, right? Because when a plane goes up in the air,
it better be right.
you can't get it back down.
Yeah.
Right. So there's just this trained attention to detail for me. And then I combined that with a construction knowledge when I came back, and it was a good pairing, really. So I started there back in 2017, and now here we are, 2025. Still rolling strong.
So Sterling is now a team of, is it your father that works with you?
It is father, uncle, couple of employees now. And then we branched off into really just other opportunities. So like sewer lines, because most of the time, especially when you're buying and selling in Homewood and other older areas, that needs to be looked at anyway.
Yeah.
So we started adding that on. My uncle's a master plumber, so that was a natural, gradual fit, right? And then septic tanks within the past couple of years. So just really trying to cover it from every angle, frankly.
I love that. I love that it's a family affair. I love that it's local. I love that I can call you and be like, Spencer, WTF, like, what is this?
Absolutely.
What's happening? I tell you, this is one of the scariest liability. Your job is a very, very serious liability. If you don't catch something and it turns into a nightmare, it could really there's some problems.
Absolutely.
So trusting the right inspector to tell us whether or not you should buy the house it's pivotal to the deal. Recently, we have come across, now I had nothing to do with this, not my team, no one with HBH had anything to do with this, but I'm going to tell you the backstory and I want you to tell me where you guys would have done something different.
Yeah, that's fair.
So this person bought a home that was registered as a sewer line home. On the sheets, on the reports, everything said that it was a sewer home, but it wasn't. It was a septic home. So it was an error on the MLS. It was an error on the systems, but the agent had no idea to advise their client to have a sewer line inspection, or in this case, a septic inspection. The buyer didn't care if it was sewer line. He's like, yeah, if it's a sewer line, I can always just pop a new line in. It's not a big deal.
That's right.
But in this case, the septic had miserably failed. The seller knew about it. They hid it from everybody. So as a buyer, what are signs that you could look for to know if the house is on sewer or septic? How would someone know? With the naked eye.
So the first thing,
you?
So that's a good question. Sometimes you just can't. You just don't know. For me, though, the neighborhood, it would be the first sign. You can kind of have an idea based on where you're at. If you walk into the front yard and you see a manhole in the street, that it's probably on sewer. There are probably more homes around there that are on sewer, for example, because everything's draining to that point. If you don't have that, if you're on a single lane road and there's no big drain line near you, it's probably on septic, just as a general rule.
Oh, wow. That's actually pretty good advice.
Yeah. Imagine what you see.
Yeah.
The other thing that is sometimes helpful, and these are only going to get you part of the way there, is where does the drain line run? So if you're on a good neighborhood street and everything's running towards the front of the house, it's probably going to a city sewer line because that main drain line is under the middle street. If it's running towards the back and you know there's nothing back there but, say, woods, for example, there's just, in most cases, no sewer line to connect onto. So it's going to end up in a septic tank somewhere.
Yeah, that's some good advice. And you know what's crazy is a lot of our clients, even though we pound it into their head, it's very expensive to buy a house. You have inspection fees, appraisal fees, loan fees, this fee, closing costs, down payment, moving fees, utility fees. There's a lot of costs to purchasing real estate. But what most people don't realize is that your two cheapest costs when you buy a house is your general inspection and then it's your sewer or septic inspection. Yes, they cost money, but they save you unbelievable amount of cash. Do you remember the house that we did on Parkside that ended up having an entire new water line dug to it?
Yes.
Because it had like something was in it. Was it like a tree root was in it or
That's
something
right.
that was
blocking the flow of the pipe. That's right.
Yeah. So, and I'm so glad the buyer, she was like, do you think I should do this? I was like, this is the cheapest you'll ever have a problem with it.
Yeah, that's true.
It's right now.
That's true.
And
Yeah,
she was
absolutely.
like, well, it's another $100 and something. I was like, I promise you,
It's worth it.
it's worth it.
Absolutely.
And she pulled the trigger, thank goodness. And then you found all these roots in the line and you're like, oh, this is going to be a problem. It's going to be a nasty problem. It
That's right.
turned into an $18,000 problem that
Absolutely.
the seller had to pay. They had to get excavators and these massive machines to pull it up. And then they busted into the main pipeline and then the water flooded the streets. When I tell you flooded, it was bad. It was so bad. It was like a fire hydrant.
Fire
went
hydrant.
off.
I was going to say, yeah, that's incredible.
Like shot straight to the roof. The entire neighborhood water had to get shut off. It was not a good day. Days. It took a couple of days, and then they had to dig out like this massive manhole under the driveway, 25 feet deep. It was nuts. The driveway was floating in the air.
Yeah, I can imagine.
So at that point, you're like, wow, these lines
Wow.
are way down there. So you have to really be careful of like how, where and what you trust. But what is it that you love about this job so much? What I know this is a very hard job. And we thank people like you, our plumbers, our electricians that are willing to get into these sewer lines, are willing to get on that roof when it's raining and cold. Like these are very thankless jobs.
Yeah.
And it's not like you're making millions of dollars doing this either. So it's a tough job.
Yeah, absolutely.
What do you want people to know about like what keeps you in the game with this?
So I think waking up every day, everything is different, right? No house is the same.
No.
So in some sense, it's like a puzzle every time you go out there. You never really know what you're going to find, but you find quickly enough that you see a lot of the same issues over and over and over again.
Yeah.
So I find that
Which is
typically-
like what? Tell me, what is that?
Yeah, so there's just the electrical is run horribly, right? So it's just consistent. You go to one house that's $2 million and it's bad there, just like it's bad everywhere else, right? I have the same conversations often multiple times a day with some of those same consistent issues. But the fun there is being able to put that puzzle piece together and see
Yeah.
what comes of it, right? And so what I try to provide is not necessarily this peace of mind. It's really just knowing what you're getting into. Because sometimes you're going to go in and you know that there are going to be repairs that need to be made. But as long as you're prepared and that's not going to sneak up on you on the back end, that's what matters. So by the time I walk out, I want the buyer to know what they're getting into and what they can expect as they move in and make it their home. And that kind of just prepares them so they're not caught off guard. I mean, the sewer line issue is a great example because that right there, bearing that burden alone without the seller there on the opposite side after having closed on the property would be, it could be life changing, right? You wouldn't know that you have an issue with the sewer line until it backs up. And then now you've got to have somebody out there to repair it. And that's all on your dime at that point in time. So saving people from that, people are grateful when stuff like that comes up so they don't have to fight that stuff on their own.
Yeah, no kidding. And something else I appreciate about your process is that you always give them like, here's some possible contacts that can help you with this
right.
and this and this, where they're not feeling like, oh my gosh, I got to spend 10 hours on Google trying to figure out, okay, this problem, that means I got to find this guy. And this problem means I got to find this guy. And a lot of times people assume that a home inspection is the one all be all, but it's not. Because a lot of times you can unveil multiple issues. Walk me through what that could look like.
Yeah, so the foundation is a great example of that. If there's a problem there, I'm going to tell you there's a problem, right? And we'll figure out what that issue is so far as we can tell. But then you have to ask the question of what you're going to do now that you know it. Somebody's got to repair it. And it would be the same thing if you have a problem with a sewer line. You're going to need somebody who can tell you what to do, how much it's going to cost, and when they can fix it. So we're kind of, in some sense, like a generalist. And with that approach.
That's a good way to put it.
Yeah,
It's almost like you're a primary care doctor.
you're correct. Yeah,
and then you
that's
got to
exactly
go
right.
find a specialist.
You're 100%. I
so
use that
good.
analogy a lot. Yeah.
Do you really? I love it.
Because you have to. You just don't know. You know enough to know that that doesn't look right.
Yeah.
And so for me, I've lost count personally, but we'll call it some odd 5,000 houses that I've seen, for example. I just know that doesn't look right. It just triggers me without having to think about it. And that's an issue. And so when you find that issue, no matter what system it is, then somebody's going to come in and fix that, and you need to rely on those contractors. So for me, it was two things in particular that actually caused me to create those vendors that I recommend. One was I kept getting asked again and again and again, who would you recommend? Who would you recommend? Who would you recommend? The other thing, which I've never told you, was I actually saw on your website years ago that you had compiled a list like that.
Yeah.
And I thought that's a very good way to do it. And so it was in conjunction of those two things that I put one together.
Oh, I love
so
that.
I thank you for that, to be
That's
honest.
awesome. I love that. And now everyone lives on the website permanently because then I don't
Yeah.
have to even say it anymore. I'm like,
That's
it's on my
right.
website. It's on my website. And it's just, and you can edit it a lot quicker than attaching a list. Because that was one thing that was annoying for me because I'm like, okay, I got to go back into the PDF and edit it and take out this picture and move this website and update this phone number. Now it's like, it's always this link.
That's
and
right.
then our backend system gets updated when it needs to.
That's right. Whenever you need to change it.
Yeah.
Easy.
So easy. Smarter, not harder, right,
That's right,
Spencer? That's the name of the game
Absolutely.
now. Oh, that's lovely. So actually, before I get there, you got to tell me some horror stories. I got to hear a horror story. Tell me
Okay.
your favorite all-time. This has to go down as one of the crappiest, craziest stories of all time. Go.
So I remember one in Vestavia a couple of years ago that I'd been brought out on. I guess the backstory for me is I won't walk away from the house. I won't say this is bad, just because you may be prepared for that. If you're going to buy this to flip it, then you may be okay. You may say this is fine. This house in particular was the only one to this day that I told the guy, I can stop now. I'll stop now. We'd only been there about 15 minutes. I said, you don't owe me a thing. We can just walk away now.
That's awesome.
It was built underground. The back wall was so deep that when you were walking in the backyard, you've probably got 15 feet of wall beneath you. And it had just moved over time. And it had caused cracking on the back wall, the side wall. And when you stood...
This wasn't on Creekview, was it?
I don't recall. It could have been.
I think I know this house.
When I stood at the side of that house and I looked at it on the driveway was on the right side of the house. So when you're standing on that driveway and you're looking at the house, the entirety of the house had just shifted outward. Right? It wasn't even, it was leaning just a little bit. It shouldn't lean at all. Especially, you're thinking about the roof is also leaning, and just because of the foundation crack, everything underneath that had shifted over.
Oh my gosh.
The caveat to that, though, is he did walk away. And so, I told him, if you ever need anything, call me. I'll be there for the next one. Somebody bought it, and they did remodel it. But what they did was they caulked all the cracks, all the openings, all the gaps. They didn't fix anything. They
Caulked or caulked?
Yeah, caulked it. They just caulked it all.
Like COULK.
That's right. They sealed it.
Oh my
They
gosh.
sealed it. And
You're
so I actually
kidding.
ended up back out there some odd 6 months later. It's like, they didn't fix it. And it was a different set of buyers at that point in time.
Oh no.
And it wasn't the same spiel that I gave them, but it was close. And I think they ended up walking away from it too.
How are you going to spend that much money on the house?
Yeah, I think the cost of the house was probably equivalent to what it was going to cost to fix the house. And that's why it sat for so long.
This is why some people do not need to be listening to these flippers. Just like, go buy the house cheap, flip it, make all this money. You have to make two things are non-negotiable: health, safety.
That's right.
You cannot negate from that, especially the F word.
Yeah.
No one wants to hear the foundation.
No,
word.
not at all.
Being a problem. Oh my goodness. I saw one it was on Creekview, and it was like the back of the house. You basically, if you stood on the back of the house, you're looking straight down a cliff. Like, it just was like a sharp drop off.
Right.
And the house was basically like everything had eroded up to the house.
Oh, I see.
And so, like, when you're standing at the back of your house, like, this is about to fall out.
Absolutely.
Like, I don't even want to put my weight on it because you
that's
feel like
fair.
it's just going to go, like, fall over. And what was interesting is the foundation underneath the house got flooded.
Okay.
So water got under the slab somehow, which a lot of people think, okay, well, I mean, it's on concrete, but it can move the house.
Absolutely.
It can shift it. And it's impossible to, like, correct that without, like, major money.
Yeah, it's like it's floated. It basically lifted and floated the foundation to some degree.
And everything is attached to that foundation. You've got framing, you've got roofing, you've got all the different. It scares me. Like, houses can scare me.
It's one big system.
It really is.
So you mess with one and it reverberates throughout the whole house.
Yeah, and you're almost like over the motherboard.
That's correct. That's another good way to put it.
Yeah. Like, okay, this is not firing correctly. But that's kind of interesting. How should someone or why would someone choose you over just a willy-nilly inspector?
That's a good question.
What makes you special,
So
Spencer?
the first thing is just the offerings. My intent is to give you the complete picture. And so without looking at that sewer line, without looking at that septic tank, you don't have the complete picture to know what you're working with, number one.
That's good.
So I'm just, and even from a future trajectory, it's just I want to fill in more services so that I can give you more of that puzzle. So by the time you leave, you've seen as much as you could possibly see on an inspection period. So that would be number one. The second piece is really just communication. I really spend more time communicating than I do inspecting, right? It's just being able to take what was found, tell you what you're going to get, and then convey that to you in a way that most people understand, since people aren't inspecting houses every day.
This is true.
Has been what I have found people have enjoyed the most from our inspection process. So I would start there. I mean, we have tangible things like I can get there faster, right? I can get you the report quicker. I can go tomorrow.
I will say your because I guess there's so many of you.
That's right. Yeah.
Your timeline, because sometimes I may get something under contract today, and I need it inspected tomorrow,
That's
so
right.
I can call off the open house this weekend.
Absolutely.
Which actually just happened today. I'm
Yeah.
going to be calling me and Catherine are going to be calling you later on it. But you have to pivot and shift.
Absolutely.
And then when things are hot, you have to just be able to, like, jump in 2 feet first. Like I had, and another thing that I love about you, Spencer, is like you're also willing to, like, take a look at my listings. And I over the years, I've just attracted higher end clients. They are their own worst enemy.
That's right.
I still love my first time home buyers and my buy up buyers because there's just a more connection with them, I think, in some ways. And they need their hands held a little bit more. And I love coaching them. I'm doing that. But then you got these high end clients too. And I love being able to, like, bring you in and say, okay, I need to know what's wrong with this house before I put my marketing dollars behind it, before I put all my power behind it. What is wrong with this house before I sell it? And most people think, like, you only get an inspection when you're buying a house. I think to the contrary. What are your thoughts about that strategy?
It can save you a lot on the front end to discover stuff if it is wrong that you can get fixed before you bring a buyer in. I mean, as a buyer agent, when you're representing them, if you know there's an issue there, you're going to go to war for your buyer to get those things
Absolutely.
fixed. And you start bringing in multiple contractors. When it's the seller and the seller's getting ready to sell, if there is an issue, they've got the leeway to figure out the best avenue to fix it, and they're not on a time crunch. They can take their time to figure out who can fix it for them, who can do it the best, and hopefully they don't have to spend a fortune to do it. So it saves them down the line. I think it ultimately saves them money. I mean, especially in regards to what the inspection cost and what they can save easily.
That's so good. And that's the name of the game. It's being proactive versus reactive. Because a lot of people don't realize if you just catch it early, it may not be as big of a deal.
That's right.
Versus with the buyer, especially if it's a first-time home buyer, they're like, oh my gosh, it's this type of problem. You're like, actually, it's just a matter of, like, switching the cords.
That's
it's
correct.
really, really simple.
Absolutely.
Simple fix. But to them, it's like, the sky's falling. Well, I love that. I love that you're able to share that. I love your family so much. I love that you've been a part of our team for, I don't even know how long.
It's been a long time. Somebody asked me the other day, and I was like, I don't remember. It's been
years.
a long time.
How did we even meet?
Yeah, I couldn't tell you.
Me?
I could not tell you. It's just, I mean,
I don't know
Yeah.
either. Like, I have no idea how we ended up meeting.
probably a referral. I mean, I've worked with a lot of the agents that you worked with previously, and I'm sure word just got around.
Yeah. It's good to have. You get around, Spencer.
I try in the best way.
I could be a real estate getting around her too. I can totally get it. Okay, I have to just ask this question. What are some of the most common things that you see? And I want to go first.
Okay.
Because one thing that just chaps my is these roofers that do not cap the chimneys. And then every time you come and do your inspections, you're calling out, this is wrong with the chimney. Every single time. And I don't understand it because it causes rot behind the boards and it's problems behind. Yes, I'll let you go. Go
Okay.
ahead.
Yeah. Yeah.
Get after it.
The chimneys are neglected, I would say, just from a home maintenance perspective.
I know.
With everybody. I would say that this is the way that I explain it to the buyers. I always say you have a hole in the roof, which is exactly what it is.
Yeah.
They framed your roof and they created a massive hole in the roof.
Yeah.
And if you don't take care of that, I mean, you expect water's going to find its way in.
Yeah.
Very easily too.
Why is it that the chimney is not built like this?
To
Yeah.
turn.
To turn
Yeah.
to where it's coming out instead of straight up.
That's a good question. So, in theory, they have a little bit of leeway to where they can bend. You'll see some chimneys that kind of have a twist to them. But broadly speaking, it's just the easiest path for ventilation. So that smoke is going to rise, especially if it's gas, directly up and straight out. So the easiest way for them to do it is to take it up that flue and allow gravity to just follow its course. But the problem is, they're great when you put them in. It's just that over time, you put a new roof on, you make roof repairs, your flashing that was there gets old, it starts to corrode, the caulking that's there pulls apart. And so now you're left with, you go into the attic space and there's rotten boards all around the chimney just because it's been out of sight, out of mind until it rains in the living room one day and you're like,
Oh.
I should have caught this a long time ago. Or why didn't my inspector catch this, which is even better. So for me, that's always a sticking point. I fight chimneys often.
Me too.
Just for that reason alone.
Me too. Every time I'm like, seller to correct the chimney.
That's right. That's right.
Like every time.
That's right.
What's
That's
another
right.
common mistake that you see often?
I see a lot of electrical trouble, which is probably what a lot of people would tell you just in the inspection space. But anybody who is not an electrician probably just shouldn't touch their electrical. Right, which seems so common sense. But even the basic stuff. I mean, I can tell you that I was on an inspection today where they replaced the plugs in an attempt to make it appear as if those plugs were grounded. And just a quick test will show you that they're not. So somebody took the time to go back and give an appearance that those outlets were grounded when in fact they weren't.
Which blows my mind because that could cause fire.
It could. I mean, ultimately, that's what you're trying to prevent against with electrical. So if you've got to touch up some work on the deck, I think we could all probably do that. We could all paint, right? But if it involves an electrician, an HVAC contractor, a plumber, if it involves a professional,
A roofer.
a roofer,
Come on,
mean,
people.
yeah, you've got to have them do it. You got to bite the bullet and have them do it.
Yeah.
It will save you so much on the back end.
I know it. And that's what I just wish people would just understand. We're not here to blow up a deal. We're here to figure out how do both sides get a fair deal.
That's right.
Like you, Mr. Seller, I want you to feel good about the house that you're giving to my buyer. And you, Mr. Buyer, I want you to feel good about the house that you're buying.
Absolutely.
To where everyone feels like they're on,
Both should feel good once the deal is done.
That's so true. Anything else you want to tell us?
Oh, we could be here all day.
Yeah. Don't flush golden fish down the toilet. Is that a myth? Does it matter if you flush fish down the toilet?
I think they're going to end up disappearing no matter where they go, whether septic or city sewer.
Okay. Wildest things that people flush down the toilet.
Oh,
Okay, I do have another question.
okay, yeah.
Tampons and feminine products
Yeah.
tend to be flushed down the toilet, and baby wipes, face makeup wipes, things like this. People flush them down the toilet. Not always flushable. What damage can that cause to either sewer or septic?
So we'll pull septic tank lids up, and they're full of They don't break down, number one. So that's why you shouldn't flush them down there. So when you think about a septic tank, just as an example here, when it lands in that tank, what allows that tank to do its job is it eventually breaks down everything that gets sent in. And then it basically pumps it all out into the field lines, or through a gravity system. It all makes its way to the field lines and it decomposes. So when you flush things down that are plastic, for example, it's not going to break down like waste will. So we see rags, toys. I don't even know how some of this stuff gets down a drain, right? To see that it ends up in a septic tank. It over time, if, for example, it does push its way down and it ends up in those field lines, you risk damaging the field line. And if you thought the sewer line was expensive, the field lines on a septic tank are
way
more than you want to pay.
It's the field lines is equivalent to basically like 20 sewer lines stacked next to each other.
That is a really good way to put it.
Like
Absolutely.
literally, it is a ant farm of lines. I've watched my father-in-law install a few of them. I was like, "That's what those look like." He was like, "Yeah."
And then,
like, oh my gosh.
And what makes it complicated is the engineer for the city is the one who has to give you that information on how many feet of field line you need, where you can put it, and things of that nature. So sometimes you're limited. Older houses, if you put a new system in, it has to have more field line than it did before. So you protect that septic tank at all costs. You don't put a waste disposer on a house that has a septic tank.
Why?
Because you don't want to flush things down again through that drain that will end up in that septic tank that's not supposed to be there. So as a general rule of thumb, houses that have septic tanks don't have waste disposers on them.
Oh my gosh, that makes total sense. I've always asked Aaron, I'm like, that's stupid. Why do they not have a garbage disposal? And he's like, they're not supposed to have it. And I was like, I would want to have one.
Yeah, that's right.
Like, just to be able to.
So we'll make that the third sign. If you don't see a waste disposer and you think there should be one there, it might be on a septic tank.
That
Could
is
be.
fantastic advice.
You never know.
The more you know.
That's right.
It's a good one. How can our audience find you?
Yeah. So our website is just sterlinginspectionservices.com. And I tried to make it easy where you can book online. You can just log on, book the inspection, and then it'll give me a notification that you need me to be somewhere at some time on some day.
That's awesome.
But then social media, I'm just Spencer B. Brothers everywhere. So you can find me there on Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, wherever. If you look hard enough, it's easy.
You can find us.
That's right.
Spencer is also one of our hub vendors, so you can also find them on hbhrealty.net under resources. And we just cannot thank you enough for being a part of our team and our growing team and our growing brand and our office coming here in Trace Crossings. Hopefully you'll come in and teach us some lunch and learns
All the
about
time.
here's some things you need to be paying attention to. And we look forward to continuing your partnership.
Me too.
Thank
you.
Yeah, thank you. Until next time, you guys, we'll see you at the next episode of A Cup of Joe.